Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to Oberon's Outlook on the Emotional Exchanges, my weekly reading forecast for the signs of the Zodiac as arranged by their elemental associations. And it's meant to give you the kind of information you need to know about emotional happenings and also your effect by that. What will affect you emotionally this week? Will there be currents, undercurrents that will pull you in, pull you under, or will you rise above the wave? So, to get started, we do a collective reading for the week, and I use my Isis Tarot, which is not a tarot, it's more like an oracle deck. It has a lot of cards that are very similar to fortune telling cards, not necessarily Lenormand, that kind of thing, but basically we're going to go ahead and do that right now for all of our audience. And here we go. I'll just put those aside there. And we have number 12, Trial, reversed. So let's get out that little booklet there. Trial. Well thought out plans remain theoretical. Unexecuted projects and intentions, a promise not kept, abuse of good sentiments, discord, hidden conflicts, overrating yourself, egocentrical and arrogant, refined and shy. That's a little contrary, maybe. Refusing spirituality, false prophet. Okay, so my interpretation of that is just basically watch out. There's going to be a lot of things going on in that environment that will make you really do a lot of those things we're talking about. And when I look at the card, there's a fox in the background behind the bird and it's reversed, so I'll just say watch out for that. All right, now, and this reading is good for Friday, September 10th through next Thursday, and that's September 16th. So we're going to get started, and we start off with reading for the air signs first, and those, of course, are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. And I've already pulled the words of the week for each. That's a first part of our reading. Okay, and that word of the week is delusion. So air signs need to watch for that a little bit this week, that there may be some delusions going on around them, and they may affect your emotions, and you may have to really put some of your emotionality aside so you can look at this more analytically and objectively. So that's all I can say about that. So let's get air signs. What's going on for you this week? What things will delusionally affect your emotions, or will you have to try to help others sort out, perhaps? Cut the cards. And our first card. What emotional happiness will you find this week? Well, I think despite dealing with delusional thinkings or others with that, the Queen of Discs seems to suggest, and she's upright, that the happiness you find this week is very much self-made and is a product of how you see yourself creating and flourishing and growing. The Queen of Discs or Pentacles is a really big, important sign for people who have far more than a green thumb. They have an ultraviolet green thumb, if that's possible. So it's a very hyper accentuation of nurturing and growthful qualities. And I'm just seeing that these are the things that will bring you emotional happiness this week. You know, sometimes when the rest of the world sucks, you just need to go play with the dirt and plant something, or play with your paints and paint something. So I hope that works out. I think that's really important. Now, our next card is, what emotional challenges or surprises will you face this week? And you could almost say, like, maybe none. You know, you have the world here and it's in its upright position. And let's just say that that means that most of these things are going to be really pleasing to you. It almost coincides with the first card in a way. The challenges or surprises will be about you magnifying greaterness within yourself, finding perfection, finding causes that bring you closer to the essence of the world and the essence of true spirit, universe, communication, whatever it is. So I think that it's a surprise or it's a challenge to you, but it just seems to be one you're pretty well suited for. Maybe it's the idea that this opportunity to bring this kind of clarification into the world in the dealings with the delusional people or situations you may be dealing with is really that challenge. Is how do you help people see something better? That is a challenge for you, I think. And then our final card is, what will concern your relationships, your romantic relationships or your family ones or platonic, co-workers, acquaintances. What things will affect them and how will you possibly have to relate to that? And we have the Justice card upright. And so I'm so pleased that most of these cards have ended up upright. Justice upright. I think that maybe most of your relationships, or what will concern them, will be how they begin to look at others and put peace into the equation with them, put the strength of compassion and fairness and equality into that. So many people in your relationships, emotional or these others, will be looking at ways to balance themselves in this time of tryingness, that what's going on, you know, and maybe these are the attitudes you give them because you're trying to help them with delusional thinking. So it's kind of interesting, but I think that mostly this is a good reading for air signs, and I think we need that happening. And I don't know if it's because of the activities of astrology. Mars is doing something in Aquarius, right? And Aquarius is an air sign, so maybe the air signs are getting some beneficence of that. Mars tends to have some good aspects when it's in its upright position, but it is going retrograde at this exact moment in time, I believe, and for the next day or two, it's standing stationary. So maybe this early part of this next week is the time to apply all this stuff here and get it over with before the retrograde. So that's what I have for the air signs. And now we're moving on to the fire signs, and fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And their word of the week is hostility. And of course, I know fire signs, you know, stereotypically, they are considered quick to heat up and maybe display a little bit more spark in their emotional range there. But I would say to you maybe too that fire signs, from this point of view, you will be dealing with some emotions that border on hostility. And I don't think it's necessarily about trying to quell that fire within. It may be just that there's going to be some hostile situations that you will have to deal with, and you will be warned by this. The word of the week is that it is possible that you are going to have to really put up a good strong front, maybe deal with some reasonable alternatives to that hostility. So anyways, we're going to get on with the reading, and good luck with that. Get them a good old shuffle. And yes, I am once again here in the TFT Esoteric Library. So here I am. Got those decks, the deck. And our first position. What emotional happiness will you find this week, fire signs? And I see a reversed Prince of Cups, which is kind of like the Knight of Cups. Princesses are pages in this deck, the Egyptian tarot, and princes are cups, are knights. So that reverse Prince of Cups, well, for a fire sign, that's saying that there's a coming or going of something this week, and it will cause either happiness or unhappiness. I mean, maybe it's a situation of the emotions where it's leaving, and so it's going to cause you happiness because it's going. And I'm wondering if maybe this could suggest that there's a particular hostility, as we were talking about, that is not quite resolvable, and maybe that matter, I don't know that it would involve a strong loved one, but maybe it's just the kind of thing where you're going to put it to bed and let it ride out for the next week or so. Or it could be actually that you may have to finally say, I'm leaving this. You know, for my emotional happiness, I need to see that gone, and I'm just going to ignore it. So it's one of those ideas there. You're letting something go, or something is leaving you, and this will bring you happiness. And it was mostly an emotional matter that wasn't bringing happiness to you. So you probably will know what that is. But let's move on to our next card. And that's what the emotional challenges or surprises are you facing this week. And I have Judgment. And it's upright. It's a pretty card. But this card tells me that from that emotional challenge surprise point of view, maybe we're looking at something really coming to us and saying, you have to be better. You have to awaken to something a little bit higher. It doesn't necessarily mean becoming a pope or a priest or something like that, but maybe you have to find some spiritual dimension within yourself. And I just tend to wonder if it's related to the letting go of this old emotional situation, or this situation that leaves your life. I'm thinking that that brings about this challenge or surprise of saying, I now have an opportunity to focus on something more within me. So I think it could be saying that, that maybe as we're putting it all together, you're going to find an opportunity to grow spiritually inside. And maybe all of this really relates to the idea that you're finding that the hostility emotions don't work for you, whether you're encountering them within yourself or within your interactions with people. And fire signs, maybe you need to slow down a little bit, not be so hot to or so easy to warm up, to heat up. But, you know, look inside. We're all humans, as they say on Star Trek. Anyway, I'm not going to dwell on that too much more. So let's go ahead right now with your next card, your final card. What kind of things will concern emotionally your relationships, whether they're romantic, platonic, fraternal, co-workers, all of that kind of stuff. And we have a reversed Prince of Wands. And the Prince, like I said before, those are knights, so they tend to be comings or goings of matters. They could represent people, but I often more likely see them as forces moving in and out of your life, especially for a reading that focuses on our emotions. So what does this mean? Well, the Prince of Wands, I think this is saying that it's kind of like the first one. Somebody, maybe situations that were about trust, or putting your trust in somebody, maybe about working on projects where you were enhancing some feelings of friendship and togetherness and humanity. You're looking at them differently now. It's actually about the fact that these are concerning your relationships. I mean, maybe what you're finding here is that because of how you've dealt with that situation and how you've moved into a more meditative or trying to enlighten yourself point of view, maybe this idea moves over to other people, that maybe you're reevaluating your friendships with them, and maybe they're thinking you don't trust them or like them as much. But what it really comes down to is maybe they're feeling the fact that you are putting a little more scrutiny into those relationships. And so perhaps if they're the causes of some of this hostility, then maybe they're going to be on notice here. And I'm actually wondering if fire signs, all of this is about the fact that you need to put out some fires in the emotional realms around you. And maybe some people, are going to look at that and say, well, I'm not so sure how they feel about me anymore, but maybe I'm on notice now. So it's kind of interesting, maybe other people around you will also have to rise to certain occasions and become a better Knight of Wands, a better Prince of Wands. So that's what I have for you. And we're going to move on now to our next, the water signs. And water signs we have moved on to, and those are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And they tend to be the ones who are the most emotional in the zodiac, or people who have strong planetary aspects in water signs may be like that too, may relate to things pretty strongly. So their word of the week, wow, uncertainty. And that's an interesting card there. Uncertainty for the week ahead with the water signs. Mostly, I think this is saying you will be faced with some uncertainty in this week, and you will have to hold yourselves together emotionally. You will have to apply the emotional strengths that you do have to look at that and to try to meter out this next coming week. So hopefully that will work. Forewarned is forearmed, as they say. And now we're going to move on to the reading. And I'll just go ahead and shuffle this deck again. And I'd like to take a moment to remind everybody to watch my partner Banshee's own weekly reading on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's the Material Matters, which is kind of like the guide to your success in education, business, and finance. And that's every Sunday. We usually sit there and drink our coffee and let it premiere so we can be in the chat room. So check that out. Alrighty. I found all those cards that just fell. Cutting the deck. And our first card. What emotional happiness will you find this week? This is not good for water signs. Water signs may feel really challenged by this Two of Cups that's reversed. Water signs may be feeling that their partnerships or their relationships have some tension or lack of trust or lack of goodwill going freely back and forth. You may be feeling like there's just some rocky times emotionally. So what it's really saying is, I guess you may not find that emotional happiness this week. It could also be saying too that maybe the opportunity to really go person a person with your strongest relationships will give you the opportunity for discussion. And maybe that's what you should think about, is that if there are things that are troubling you in your emotion, look at this as an opportunity to try to figure out how to have dialogue and maybe figure out where each other is at. Now, remember, my word of the week was uncertainty, so this could be applied to that as well, saying that if you're feeling that these things are happening in your primary relationships, then you need to think about what you can do to find a way to rebalance, because the twos are all about balance in any suit. So what emotional challenges or surprises will you face this week? And I suppose this is pretty much a surprise. It's the sun and it's upright. And I'm thinking emotionally, we're getting some really good news. We're really feeling very happy and surprised about something. And I think that something is maybe it's It's taking what we love or what we truly value to another level. So it could be that maybe we're finding out that we are moving forward with a relationship. Maybe we will find out that other people we truly care for are elevating their relationship too. Or also too, the sun is about enlightenment in general, about education. So maybe what is surprising to us is really this opportunity to learn new things and to bring enlightenment to others. Remember, there was uncertainty as your word of the week. This card says that maybe what challenges or surprises you is the fact that you are finding the light and you can actually make a difference in others' lives. There's that beautiful sun there. So I'm going to put that right there. And then finally, what will concern our relationships, romantic, platonic, fraternal, co-workers, things like that. Boy, we're certainly getting the princes in our readings. We have another prince, which is, as I said, a knight, the coming or going of things. And it's the Prince of Swords. And I'm thinking what concerns our relationships these weeks is that maybe there's stress, there's strife, and maybe people are thinking they have things they really have to do. They're really thinking about the challenges of the times right now, and that there are undertakings that they're trying to pull together and make happen, direct their will and their strength towards these things. And there's a lot of movement here. And so some of it, I guess it's related to that uncertainty. This Prince reverse definitely relates to that uncertainty, that what will concern your various friendships and relationships is the fact that they're all moving forward in some times of uncertainty. And we know exactly what that means, don't we, folks? So that's pretty much what I can say there is we have to all try to do the best we can, and that holding ourselves to a higher standard, like this knight, the dignity and the grace that he normally portrays as he moves forward to take over and to bring that thing there. You need to elevate ourselves and help those relationships around you to do that. So that's what I have for the water signs. Boy, don't I know this one's true. And so now we're going to move on to the earth sign. And we're here, excuse me, in the last leg of our readings for the week, and that's the earth signs. And earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And from the emotional point of view, they tend to be the ones most able to cope with things or let things roll off of them, maybe hold it inside for analysis. And that's not a bad thing. And their word of the week, and this is such a good word of the week for earth signs, especially some of the ones that are a little bit stubborn. Oh, that might be all of them. That's okay. I have earth in my chart, so I get it. It's cooperation. And so earth signs maybe will be thinking about the ways that they will work with cooperation, or they will cooperate with others to achieve mutual goals, especially if they are in the realms of emotionality, the emotional spectrum. So let's get on with our reading then. And I hope that works for you guys. It's always better to cooperate. Come on, just admit it. Whoops. I'd like to thank everybody for being there. And if you'd like to see me and the Banshee live, our stream schedule is right there. We're on twice a week, maybe 3 times as we move to the end of the year, and we're revising some things. So you can catch us 3 times a week for live readings, free. Alrighty, so our first position is, what emotional happiness will the earth signs find this week? And it's an earth card, discs, pentacles, which is the sign, the element. It's the Princess of Discs, and the Princess is kind of like the page, so it's reversed. And I'm thinking that maybe the emotional happiness you find this week is when you can kind of not have to think so much about focusing, persevering, studying. So maybe if you're Students amongst the air signs, maybe this is a time to kind of relax a little bit. I know the school season just seems to be starting. Is it possible that maybe students in general are going to hear something about what's going on academically? I think this just pertains more to earth signs. That is their quality to maybe be able to focus. In general, because there's a material condition involved with that, it could just be too that we're learning what we need to do to balance some of these things in our lives. The surprise may actually be that something that was materially comfortable is no longer as valued, and maybe we're rethinking about that. Well, that wasn't really a surprise. That was really about the happiness. So maybe it's more likely that the happiness we derive from certain things is not exactly in our focus this week. At any rate, moving on to the second card, and I have the King of Wands, and the King of Wands is reversed. And that means what emotional challenges or surprises will we find this week? Well, King of Wands reverse tends to speak of some difficulties maybe with management, maybe within a circle of friends, associates, network. It could be job related, but it's not specifically material related, so it could be more career or projects, things like that. And I'm thinking that the emotional surprise or challenge is keeping it together maybe after there's sort of like a sense of, I wouldn't say dissension, but I would say that maybe there's a clarity that's missing for some reason, and maybe there's been a change in relationships to the point where protocols are really changed, and maybe people that we talk to, it's now different. Maybe we have to go through different mediums or different situations to be in conversation with people. I know it sounds vague, but it's more like maybe going back to a sense of isolation in a way. I don't know. So anyways, our third card, our final card, is what will concern the romantic, fraternal, other types of relationships in our lives, platonic, co-workers. And that's the Ten of Discs, which is another earth sign card for the earth signs. It's reversed. I'm thinking a lot of people that are around us, they're going to be concerned because within their own foundations, their own family structures, their own cells, groups, whatever, there's a little bit of unease or a little bit of shifting terrain. There are things going on where maybe financially it's not a good time for people to do certain things. Maybe there's going to be some problems material-wise that will affect all of these people that are in our relationships. And people maybe will be having, some bad feelings about some of that. Maybe it's not like the uncertainty, but it's maybe more like figuring out where cooperation will help us, because if our families and our groups can't cooperate, that really will be bad. So hopefully this is really only for the next week or so. It could just be different things playing out, maybe people are finally starting to realize that they have to get jobs, find jobs, press people who owe them money. So I'm thinking financial conditions are really what's going to emotionally bother a lot of our relationships the most, and or the security kind of things that this card also provides. So let's hope that cooperation will bring all of the earth signs back together and help them deal with all that. Alrighty, so that's what I have for everyone, and I'm glad you joined me. Please come again next week. Don't forget to watch Banshee on Sunday. Have a great week, everyone.